So I think we can start. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Including Federation Open Day. I am Rachele Brancaleoni from Catholic University of Sacred in Rome, Italy, and I will be the chair of this meeting. So let's start the meeting. Here, a brief introduction. You can see my email. Otherwise, you can contact including email. You will find it in the last slides. General rules for this meeting. The meeting will be recorded. And if you wish, you can ask questions anytime using the chat. But we have a special session called Q&A at the end of the meeting where we will address all these questions. Please keep your mic and your camera off unless you're asked differently. This will help us with the internet wide. So we are going to take some pictures. You all signed an agreement for this, but if you don't wish to appear, please leave your camera off and your name will be deleted automatically. An evaluation questionnaire will be sent to you after this meeting, and please fill it in. It will take like 2 minutes, but it will help us in improving our webinars since we are going to have another webinar 8th of October, but more information will come. This is the agenda of today. We will have really important speakers, our coordinator, Luigi De Dominicis, and then two of our Greek partners, Jiri Silmari from Finland, and then again the question and answer session and the conclusions. The objectives of this meeting is to provide background information on the Including project, to have an overview of the Federation and the benefits of it, present the Including web-based platform, and to introduce two of our joint actions that will be organized by the project. The next two that will take place in Finland and in Greece. So I think now it's time to pass the floor to Luigi.
Okay, so thank you, Rachele, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this project event, this Including project event. We are going to, for the first time, to present to the project partners and to the external partners basic development about the Including Federation, that is a pillar of the whole project. Including is in some way the acronym for Innovative Cluster for Radiological and Nuclear Emergencies. So it is clear that the perimeter of our activities is the radiological and nuclear subset of the whole CBRN domain. So next slide, please. Essentially, we are 15 partners from 10 different member states. Our project has a duration of 5 years and started on August of 2019, so it is planned to end in 2024. It's a coordination and support action with a typical budget of a little bit more than 3.5 million euros. That is typical for this kind of action from the European Commission. We have a very good coverage of the European territory, as you can see from the map. And this is very important for the scopes of the Federation, as I will show in a few moments. We have, in our consortium, we have research center, university, first responders organization, frontline operators, big industries, small and medium enterprises that are all devoted, despite at different, from different perspectives, to the RN preparedness. So essentially to activities in prevention and response to radiological and nuclear emergencies. So next slide, please. We have 4 main objectives. The first is an assessment on how the RN threats are evolving. We know that we are in a continuous changing scenario at the geopolitical level, and the project will study how this evolution impacts the scenarios for RN threats. This especially for intentional emergencies. So we are talking about a nuclear security event, but not leaving aside, obviously, the emergencies stemming from an intentional event, the one that are more concerned with safety. And the scope is also to assess how the training programs of the member states are updated to these activities. The second objective is the realization of a federation. That is one of the main scope of this meeting of today. The federation is a mixed training experimentation environment that is distributed across the geographical dimension of the consortium, but a very large technological dimension that is made of all the resources that are shared by the participant to the federation. The third objective is to develop a web-based platform that is a centralized management tools for the remote booking and utilization of the resources that are in the federation. And finally, the organization of joint actions. Joint actions are exercises and trials organized at the federation facilities and high method of validating the previous point. So they will be based on scenarios as studied in Objective 1. Today, I am going to give you an overview about the point 2. In the next presentation, University of Athens will give a very detailed presentation of the actual state of the web-based platform, Objective 3. And finally, we will give to you 2 examples of how Objective 4 is carried on. With regard to Objective 1, let me say that on 8th of October, we are organizing, we will have another webinar of the project, also in this case open to external participants, in which we will address specific issues mainly related to the nuclear security field. So you are kindly invited to participate, also because there will be also in this case an open session for contribution and for discussion. Next slide, please. So the concept of federation is the evolution of the concept of network. In a abstract vision, a network is a collection of nodes that exchange information between themselves. The federation is a collection of nodes that exchange information but also share their resources. In the including federation, the nodes are the several exercise and training centers of the project participants. They are displayed on this map. They are well distributed on the European territory and covers all the different capabilities that are required in the RN preparedness field. We have centers with nuclear reactors. We have centers specialized in nuclear security, especially with the cross-border activities. We have areas where it's possible to carry on exercises with live agents, with real radiological sources, with robots, with UAV. Centers where it is possible to carry on virtual training exercise, virtual training and augmented reality training. We have centers where it is possible to test the civil-military cooperation that is under the interest now from the Commission. Let me remind you that we have the Hellenic Ministry of Defense as partner in our consortium. So all the partners of the Federation will be collaborating to achieve the higher level of interoperability for sharing and pooling their resources, and to facilitate as much as possible the circulation of experts in their premises. Next slide, please. So the concept of federation, it is not a novelty. The first examples date back to 2012 and was initially developed for software architecture by the GEMI project in the United States. And the first attempt to turn the concept of federation into the real world with real object was carried out by the University of Athens, that is partner of Including, with the project ROFI. And in ROFI, the federation was able to manage and mobilize resources that were mostly UAV, UGV, and USV, so essentially robotic devices. In including, we are bringing the concept of federation to a next level. In including is the test bed itself a managed resource, which in turn is a collection of other resources like robot, machinery, sensor, humans, and software. We will see in the next presentation in more detail this concept. Next slide, please. To manage such a complex structure, such a complex architecture, it is necessary to rely on a very well-performing software, the so-called web-based platform. The web-based platform allows a registered user, that is a practitioners or experimenters, to have access to all the federation resources, to all the resources that each test bed had made available. And once that her has given a complete vision to the resources, can decide to book one of the resources for the utilization. Some resources can be utilized by remote. In this case, it's very easy. The resource is made available to the users while he comfortably sits on the chair of his office. And then at the end of the job, the results are uploaded on the database of the Federation for a final common evaluation. In case the activities require physical presence, so the organization of drills, of an exercise and so on, the software will assist the users in developing the scenarios and to plan the mobilization of resources, and even to follow remotely how the exercise is going on. Also in this case, the results will be at the end uploaded in the database of the web-based platform for sharing with all the Federation community for a common evaluation. Next slide. The joint action are specific exercise and trials that are planned from the beginning to be organized at the Federation testbed. They are based on a scenario taken from nuclear security events as defined in the EIEA definition, glossary of terms, and are updated to emerging threats as started in Objective 1 of the project. The trial, the exercise, the joint action are focused on bringing innovation and to facilitate the uptake of new technologies in the Federation and to address gaps that have been identified during the activities of Objective 1. They will have all common elements like the radiological crime machine management, interagency coordination, first responder situational awareness, uptake of new technologies, medical aspects of RN emergencies, civil military cooperation and communication with the media and the public. Next, please. So this is the schedule, the timeline of the joint action that are planned during the project. Are 8 different joint actions. The first one was scheduled this year in Bologna. It was a tabletop exercise, but has been postponed for obvious reason. It will be held in 2022. So the next one are in April and June of next year and will be the subject of the last 2 presentations of this meeting. And so we will have also online workshop, annual workshop every year for the project. This year, we will have an online workshop, as I told before, is scheduled for 8th of October, and at 2:30 Central European Time, and you are urged to join for giving your contribution. We will have several kinds of exercises, demo live, tabletop exercise, drills, serious gaming, and virtual reality exercises. Okay, please, next slide, please. So, summarizing, including offers an open platform. I would like to outline this concept. Open platform means that the joint action and the participation to the Federation is obviously open to project partners by default, by contract with the European Commission, by grant agreement. But the participation to the Federation and to the joint action and workshop is open also to external partners, including is very delighted to accept new partners in the Federation, and to accept new participants to join action. Participants can be first responders, can be technological providers that can deploy their technologies, and so on. We have some funds to support this action, so please take contact with us, follow the update of our activities on our project website. We issue every 6 months a new letters where we announce the next joint action. So you will learn in advance what are the subject of the joint action, and you can decide if to contact us and to agree how to take part, how to participate. And finally, let me say that we have specific activities also on the promotion of standardization in the DRM domain. We are collaborating with Stanford Security Project, and I also acknowledge the participation, our collaboration with other projects, and Circle and Nofear and InNotice above all. But let me say that all the European community projects are showing a very good level of collaboration in this regard. So from my side, that's all. I give back the floor to our chairperson. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Luigi. And now I would like to pass the floor to the next speaker, who will talk about the web-based platform. Stathis, the floor is yours.
Next speaker is me, Stathis Kazifmiadis. Good afternoon, everybody. Do you want me? Okay, good. So the presentation will be centered upon the web-based platform of the Including project, which would allow us to manage the Federation resources and try to orchestrate drills using these resources to the benefit of the trainees and the involved actors. Next slide, please. So the web-based platform is a set of components that interested the actors are allowed to use in order to try to combine resources in a very friendly way, a friendly graphical user interface, combine resources, as I said, in order to have a drill scenario which can be implemented in the test beds, in the exercise areas throughout the network. We provide the experimenters with all the needed information in order to engage these resources, in order to exploit their sensors, for example, in order to instruct resources to do many different things according to the scenario of the platform, etc. This will be shown later on by means of some screen dams. Next slide, please. So, as discussed previously by Luigi, the ecosystem was Including is quite extended. It aims to cover training needs of many different actors, of many different organizations, many different types of actors, for example, firefighters, doctors, radio, military, crisis responders, etc. In this context, we try to model all the resources that would be part of a certain drill. And in our view, in the terminology of the project, resources can be robotic devices with all the sensors that they carry and can be exploited in the context of the drill. Human resources, which can be either individuals or groups with very specific expertise, which will be needed also in the drill. Specialized equipment, which can be mobile or stationary, and also software components, which can be invoked, let's say, in the background in order to generate events and also expose the trainees to very specific things, very specific conditions, like, for example, some serious games. All these resources are properly modeled by the system in order to be able to orchestrate them to the best possible way and efficiently implement the context, the exercise, the drill. Next slide, please. When discussing about the platform, we also need to identify the roles of the users that are allowed to access the platform, that are allowed to exploit the platform for the generation of drills, etc. So, in our understanding, in the concept of including the users of this platform could be experimenters that are allowed to request the use of resources and combine these resources into a drill. Testbed operators, the owners of a certain testbed and the owners of resources that can be found in many different locations throughout Europe. As shown previously by our project coordinator. The platform administrator, which manages the whole thing, and also testbed managers, which are responsible for the management of resources and also should be able to validate a certain drill and should be able to approve the drill in order to further progress the respective workflow. Next slide, please. Okay, in order to be able to implement the federation scheme, we used an extensive database. We have modeled all the sensors, all the resources and their attributes, and everything is fed into what we call the including database. Apart from that, what additional information goes through the system is the information that we collect from sensors, from human assets that are engaged in the drill. Everything is being collected by means of highly scalable middleware platform, which is feeding all this information into the system. The ultimate goal of this collection of data is the capability to process all this information and come up with many meaningful reports that do show the development of a certain drill, the outcome, the exact outcome, possible shortcomings, and thus allow us to find out ways on how to improve the performance. Next slide, please. So in including, we have a certain workflow about the preparation of a certain drill. Very specific steps can be taken while preparing the drill, while executing this drill, and finally for assessing the outcome. So at first, the experimenter is capable of reaching the web portal, which is cloud-based, and see whether the intended experiment, the intended drill is feasible. And this is subject to the resources that are available in the testbeds of the Federation. Then, next slide, please. Okay, this is an interface of the booking tool. The booking tool is one of the four, let's say, most important components that the web platform of including includes. Comprises of. So the booking tool allows the user to book a certain location for a drill, a certain testbed, and this is just a playground. This has to be enriched by the resources that will come into the testbed and be orchestrated in order to deliver the final outcome of the drill. These resources have been classified into different categories. There are fixed resources, mobile resources, human resources, groups of them. For example, UXVs will be shown later on. So apart from the playground, we have to also book these resources, and this can be done not only in a very specific testbed, but we can also request the shift of resources from other testbeds in order to make the drill as realistic as possible, featuring all the different components that we require. Next slide, please. So as I said, we have the selection of the testbed, and then the user, the authorized user, proceeds with the other types of needs. Expresses the other types of needs that he should be fulfilled in order to proceed with the drill. Next slide, please. Throughout the workflow for the preparation and final execution of a drill, there are points where the workflow needs to be the drill and the workflow for the preparation of the drill needs to be interrupted in order to get the approval from a testbed operator. For example, this approval may involve ethical issues. This drill may involve ethical issues, and these issues are subject to the approval of ethical committee, for example. So we have the capability of blocking the process at very specific points in time where some approval from a higher level body is being required, and following this approval, we move forward with the next steps. Next slide, please. So assuming that we can book the resources, we can book the playground, then we have to produce a scenario for the exercise. Next slide, please. In order to do this, we use a very specific technology that is called domain-specific languages. Using this technology, we have specified and including DDL, a drill description language, which will look like a scenario language, showing exactly what would be the resources required for a certain drill, but also orchestrating them across time and space. So a certain resource needs to be here in order to fulfill the requirements of the drill, needs to be here, or let's say at location X, in time Y, and perform a certain action. Everything that I've said is semantically covered by this language, the including DDL, and there are also some tools that we have developed in order to facilitate the use of the language and the specification of the drill. So the language covers, abstracts all these, including concepts, has a certain grammar. It appears as a script with a very specific rules, and then we have tools that allow us to very easily, since we are aiming to a very friendly user interface, very easily do this DDL exercise. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the graphical output of the main component of the including web interface, which is the editor for a certain drill. You can see in the bar in the upper part of this screen, you can see different types of resources, like for example operators, human actors, equipment, mobile sensors, static sensors, and in addition to that, you can see previously stored, previously archived drills, and also the capability to define a drill from scratch and try to combine the different resources together. Then a second stage will follow, whereby the experimenter is allowed to engage a certain resource, manage the resource configuration, location, and where exactly it needs to be in very specific time points. What it needs to do, for example, a UXV needs to fly, needs to keep the current position, needs to fly to hover a certain area, etc. Humans are requested to, human groups are requested to go there and perform a certain task, and all these things. The UXVs, as I said, are commanded by the system. The same goes for the human teams. Humans and UXVs can also form groups that would be instructed by the system to do very specific things. In the case of UXVs, we have a collaborative intelligence scheme, as the UXVs would group together and provide a swarm behavior. The commands to resources are, as I said, instructions to move to very specific points at very specific time instances and do very specific things, and then the whole scenario progresses further. Next slide, please. So here we have drilled down the overall map. We are indicating one of the locations where the joint actions one of the joint actions is going to take place. This is the testbed in the broader Athens area. It's a camp in Haidari. And you can see there the testbed area visualized by means of this red line, and also you can see certain trajectories that resources are required to follow, and also static sensors, which is this thing that appears radiating something. Again, on the upper left part of the figure, you can see the capability of the user to engage different types of sensors and different assets. You can see there that in this particular testbed, 2 UGVs are made available to the user, so the user can take them, engage them in a certain scenario, and then it can instruct them not only to move to very specific points in space and time, but also to start the sensors. On the right-hand side, you can see different sensors for UGV1. For example, the smoke sensor is being activated on time slot 2 and deactivated to time slot 4. We assume that these devices are interfaced to the system. So the readings from the drill control sensors are coming into the system, can be archived into one of the databases of the platform, and can be used for further analysis following the performance of the drill. Next slide, please. Again, here you can indicate, for example, in the case of a UGV, where exactly it needs to be throughout the time frame of the exercise. You can see there a waypoint that the particular UGV needs to respect while the drill is underway, and needs to be there at, let's say, time slot 4. This is a functionality that mostly refers to the robotic devices that including is planning to engage in the joint actions. Similar things can be seen for human groups, for example, of experts, or other types of sensors. Static sensors, of course, cannot move throughout the playground. They are there and can be instructed in many different ways. Next slide, please. In the previous slide, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that there was a resource which was engaged in a certain drill, but it was taken out from another testbed, and this was shown on the slide with the indication on loan, meaning a certain resource was required for this particular drill, and we negotiated the use of this resource and the transfer of this resource from another testbed. Additional information can be specified for other types of resources, like, for example, the line with the red dots indicates the trajectory that a certain group of responders, of operators, needs to follow in order to comply with the needs of the exercise. In this case, whenever a certain point in the performance of the drill is being attained, the group receives instructions about the next step, for example, what needs to be done next, and these appear on very specific applications that they do carry. The first responders or the humans do carry and get information from the system in this way. Next slide, please. So this is the broader idea of the drill, of the DDL, whereby we have certain components. As I said, the drill has been abstracted and we managed to identify different parts of the drill specification that are require the that the user firmly put some information in. For example, metadata section where the drill is taking place, who was the authorizing person for this drill, etc. What the need, what the drill requests needs in terms of resources, requirements sections, the declaration sections, which elaborates more on the types of activities that will be required and the possible use of different components of the language in order to facilitate further processing, and the execution section where all the dynamic steps that the resources would follow are required to follow will be very thoroughly presented there. And the user is allowed to graphically indicate all these sections, graphically enter the information required for all the sections, while the system produces the script, which is shown on the right hand side as a phrasal description. This is something, this scenario is further digested by the system. And in this case, it commands, it tasks the UXVs as needed and in the proper time instance. It tasks the groups of humans. It tasks the different sensors, etc. So we produce this scenario, this textual scenario, which is engaging the resources at very particular points in time to do many very specific things. And this is digested, further progressed by the platform in order to assess the validity of this scenario, in order to make sure that all the resources are, despite the fact that they were previously reserved, are currently available in good status and can be really engaged in the drill, can be really used. Next slide, please. So this is the workflow that we follow in order to perform a certain drill. You can see there that the you can visualize the things that you have seen before. You can validate. You can make sure that there is no error in this scenario. Things that you know, perhaps some trajectories are intersecting. Some dangerous things have been carelessly depicted. So all this information is taken care of, and then we proceed with the management and the final execution of the drill. Next slide, please. So then the drill is being performed in the designated time and space. And while the drill is underway, there are some there is an additional component that the trainees would carry in order to overview at first the progress of the drill and also be instructed or feed in information that the humans need to generate throughout the execution of the drill. Next slide, please. This is the monitoring visualization tool whereby we can we see that a certain drill is being underway. We have information coming in from sensors, for example. We can visualize all this information, how different measurements evolve over time, and we can also see, next slide please, the exact location of resources, what are the trajectories followed, where different, this is actually an output from an Android application which has been executed on the tablets that the human trainees, the trainees would carry while the drill is underway. So you can see drones, humans, groups, ambulances, and additional equipment, like, for example, tents that are positioned within the playground. Next slide, please. Same goes here. It shows another time step for the development of the certain drill. And next slide, please. UXVs, similarly to what I've said before, the UXVs are following their waypoints, collecting measurements, and they're feeding all this information back into the system. Next slide, please. This is everything that you have seen. It's visualized on this Android application on the tablet. Human actors are also instructed to move to different locations and perform very specific tasks. Next slide, please. So, for example, this is again, this is the user interface that the trainees can do have in front of them. You can enter into a particular drill and then obtain extra functionality or be instructed from the broader platform in order to perform very specific things. Next slide. Like, for example, here we can see the a map, which is zoomed out at the moment. The human operator is instructed to do a very specific task, and whenever the task finishes, or perhaps the human operator encounters a certain obstacle, then perhaps this is reported back to the system in order for additional instructions, additional tasks to be returned back to the mobile workforce, to the trainees that are in the field doing the thing that the drill prescribes. Next slide, please. And then the final stage, following the preparation of the drill, the booking and the preparation of the drill, the performance of the drill, the final stage, of course, is the collection of the data that all the sensors, all the assets, including humans, have fed into the system in order to produce some report. So the information is there. The information has been gathered from everything that we have engaged into the exercise. They have been stored in a database, in the system's database, and using certain tools, the interested actor can obtain this information, can combine this information, can analyze this information, and come up with a very detailed report that, as I said, can adjusting the calibration of a certain action in the overall orchestration, in improving the orchestration that these actors have tried to achieve. Next slide, please. Again, this is the evaluation analysis. Everything is there. All the data are there, and then it's up to the system, to the user of the system, to combine all this and produce a meaningful report. Next slide, please. I think this is the final one. The couple of additional details. The system, as I said, is being made cloud ready. And we implement actually multi-tier architecture where in order to safeguard the scalability of the system and the efficiency of the system, there is a certain component, certain software component residing in the testbed, while the core of the system is being hosted by the cloud in some of the organizations present, including consortium, and the user interface, of course, is similarly hosted in the cloud, so that the users, the interested actors, can access it from everywhere, can book resources, can book testbeds, can engage resources, can launch the exercise as needed, and of course, if physical presence is required, mobilize the respective forces in order to be there and support the exercise. Apart from these components that we have discussed previously, the drill language is being able to orchestrate software components in like simulators and serious gaming engines in order to be able to expose the trainees to conditions, to incidents that are produced by these simulators, and thus have a cover quite wide span of incidents and achieve a training efficiency which is quite high. Thank you for the presentation, and then we will have the opportunity to discuss things and get your questions afterwards. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much, Professor, for this very interesting presentation. Now it's the turn of Jyri Silmari, our partner from Mikkeli in Finland.
Thank you, Russell, and it's nice to be in this conference with you all. I'm representing South-Savo Fire Services, and we are producing testbed in Mikkeli city in Finland. And first, I will show you what we have done in past exercises and what we have done as a testbed, and then after that I will show you what kind of testbed is going to be that after a field technical exercise Mikkeli in April 2021. Next slide, please. Why we offer training facilities? We think that Finland is quite a good place. Here is a map of Finland, and South-Savo Fire Services on the northeastern side of Finland, and we have a city about 50,000 people population, and around it there is quite a big forest areas, and that is why we think that the live exercise readiness is very, very good for us. And it is quite easy to test in workbench, and CBRNE related laboratory facilities are available because we have these firm Environics who makes these detectors, and we have University of Applied Sciences. And for about fire services, we have in Finland 22 regional fire services, and as you can see, number 10 is South-Savo, and it is in Finland named Mikkeli. Next slide, please. We were partners as end user in Toxic Triage European Union project, and we had field technical exercise dispersed in the city center of Mikkeli, and it was 22nd of May in 2019, and during the exercise, the emergency services of Mikkeli diagnosed and decontaminated more than 100 casualties, and they had attached chlorine gas, and on the picture on the right hand side you can see there was those casualties on the ground, and there was that van that explodes. Next slide, please. In the field technical exercise disperse, we run tests, evaluated and demonstrated project concepts and technologies under realistic conditions in the center of Mikkeli, and it was an ordinary day in the Mikkeli city marketplace, and it was interrupted by a smoke cloud disseminating from the white van. Multiple casualties start to have breathing difficulties and feeling nausea. Several casualties become non-ambulatory new toxic cloud. And project coordinator Paul Thomas said that the Toxic Triage project was an exercise disperse has demonstrated just what an achievable when the expertise and academics, emergency services, and industry leaders from across Europe come together with common goal. This was what we did, and on the right-hand side there is the marketplace in the middle of the city, and there is the van on the left-hand side, and the gas was flowing around the city there. Next slide, please. We had a little bit back, please. Backside. Yes, there's some beautiful pictures from the scenery and area, and there are those partners from the exercise. There was police forces, regional hospital, Red Cross, and military services, and so it was joint action in large scale. This exercise in Mikkeli, as it says in slide before, FTX including in Mikkeli, and it is from 20th to 22nd of April 2021, and we are going to have this exercise about 5 kilometers from Mikkeli center. There is a military base, and we are going to be in the area of that military base. Skenaria is the often radioactive source, and there have been multiple casualties with symptoms for joint action exercise, and for our calculation the duration will be about 3 hours, and there is going to be participants from our fire services and ambulance services. We have quite a big military base about 70 kilometers from Mikkeli, and from there go those few military units, and of course police forces are taking part on that. And the operations are based on federated scheme of tools, and there will be those elements as status said earlier, like situation definition and area coordinating, area screening and radioactive source search, casualty evaluation and decontamination, triage and first aid, of course, and measures. And we have done quite a lot of operated with ambulance services, and we have own ambulances, and that's why we need and want those persons to be also with us. Next slide, please. This is the area from high perspective, and as you can see, there is forests and this radioactive source in the middle of the, not in the middle of forest, but nearby the forest area, and there is that shooting area where is possible to it makes possible for those drones and robots go around there, and in this organization there is our organization as fire services, and there is ambulance services, police services, and military offices and their groups and units. And what we can offer test bed for training in joint actions, And in FTX Field Technical Exercise Mikkeli, we will test regional capability and identify improvements in dealing with a radiological emergency on provincial scale. Rachel, you may.
No, I'm not kidding with the
Okay.
slides.
Okay.
It seems, no, just a minute. It seems that you added some.
I have few words to say, but you may stop.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
In Field Technical Exercise Mikkeli is focused on capacity of South Regional Joint Practitioners in radioactive sector. Aim is to improve resources and knowledge sharing, adoption of best practices, and operability at joint exercise level. And of course, we will show participants some novel technologies and demonstrate their usefulness. In joint field technical exercise, we will share and exchange views and ideas and opinions during the field technical exercise in real time, and also we will strengthen the general and scientific reach back capabilities on participants. These are our aims and ideas, and I think that Stasis said these things few minutes ago, and thank you, and sorry for those slides. They were timed, and that's why they were going round and round.
Yeah, well, we solved the issues. Never mind.
Okay, and I hope that coronavirus makes it possible you to arrive to Mikkeli. Thank you and welcome to Mikkeli.
Yeah, we hope, all of us hope so. Our next speaker is Spiridon Kolovos from Greece, and they will talk about Ministry of Defense there. He will host another joint action in the very near future. So Spiros, the floor is yours. Spiros, your mic is mute. May I ask you to unmute? Spiros, I'm sorry, we cannot hear you.
He wrote that he's reconnecting on the chat.
Okay.
Yes, so.
Okay,
And
so
then
in the meanwhile, sorry, Luigi, please go on.
Please go on. There is some
Okay.
question.
No, yeah, in the meanwhile, I was asking if anyone, if you have questions, you just need to type. I can see there is a question for Yiri. Yiri, why was silver level comment called joke? In the meanwhile, we can take advantage of the time.
Joke is the name of the situation room for those officers like military and police and ambulance services. They are in the same room at the same time, and they change the situation awareness and opinions and what they are doing and how.
So it wasn't a joke.
Almost joke, but they are very serious on when they are working there.
Okay, thank you very much. Noel, are you okay with this? Would you like to say something? Thanks, Aga, for the...
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay,
Raquela,
thanks.
I appreciate now that joke is obviously an acronym, perhaps Joint Operational Command or something like that. I don't know. I just wonder why it was joke.
Yeah, but that's a good joke, let's say. So let's try to see if Spiros will reconnect. Luigi, in the meanwhile, I have a question for you. I prepared it for the next session, but in the meanwhile, I think it's we can take advantage of it. And why there is a need for such a federation in the radiological and nuclear area? Why
yes.
you felt this need?
Yes, so thank you for this question. So all we know how much are difficult to carry on trials, exercise with in the RN domain, radiological nuclear domain. Most of the time, exercise with the real agent, with the radiological sources, the areas that are qualified for the use of these sources. You need the providers of these sources that have the certification from national bodies. And we know how much it's difficult to find premises and where it is possible to carry on these activities. So for instance, the concept of federation is to make available premises like this, that are that some organizations have, to make these premises available to the RN community. And also we know how much are costly some equipment for carrying on drills with radiological and nuclear in the nuclear field. So in a vision of an economy of scale, it's very important in the spirit of collaboration between member states to share these tools, this equipment to optimize the outcome. And obviously the final benefits is for the European citizens, because we are working to improve their safety and security with regard to radiological and nuclear threats. This is the spirit of the Federation. I look that there is a question from Tom Flynn.
Yes, would you like to read it? Or Tom, would you like to take the floor and pose the question by yourself? I think Tom is muted. Okay, by the way, I will read it for you. What is perceived to be the most challenging undertaking for the project now at this point?
Sorry, I'm back in. Okay, thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
So thank Tom for this question. And this question comes from Tom that is working actively with the State for Security project. And obviously, as you know, the most challenging undertaking, the most challenging aspect of the project now is the fragmentation between different member states. All member states have different regulation, different approach to this matter. So there is the need to harmonize as much as possible, to improve as much as possible the what is called the standardization. Standardization is a very challenging word. It means a very precise path to achieve a standard. You need to walk a very precise pathway, but we need at this point to raise the awareness, the knowledge in the RN community that we have all together to work towards improve the standardization, improve the harmonization between themselves. So this is the most challenging part of the project. We are very happy of the collaboration so far with the State for Security and also with InNotice and with ENCIRCLE. With ENCIRCLE, we have done, ENCIRCLE is leading a very important activity on a database of standards that can be available for the RN community. So in my view, this is the most challenging aspect to overcome the fragmentation and between different member states and to raise the willingness of participants to share their resources. It is important to share. I know that to share means to make some sacrifice, obviously, but the joint outcome from a collaborative activities can obviously overcome the difficulties that one need to face. Okay, I think that this is the most important point.
Sorry, Tom speaking. Luigi, thank you very much for that. Totally delighted, agree totally what you're saying. just inform you that we will have a first release of the Strata Security platform and e-learning tool by the end of the month or the first week of October. And of course, we will forward the details onto you then in due course in that area. Thank you, Luigi.
Yes, thank you, Tom. I'm very delighted that you seized this opportunity to talk about your platform. I've been lucky to follow your work from the beginning, and I know how much is great your engagement, the engagement of your team in producing a useful platform for the RN community, for the CBRN community, and I'm pretty sure that soon all the community will appreciate the work that you are doing. Thank you, Tom. Seems that Spiros is back.
So, good afternoon from Athens. My apologies for this inconvenience. I didn't expect this happened, unfortunately. So, Raquel, could you load the presentation? Okay. This is the upcoming summer joint action will take place in Athens, where I represent the Hellenic Ministry of Defense. I'm also military, and we will provide our facilities for including joint action purposes. I'm also work package 5 leader, which means I coordinate all the joint actions. So next slide. So we have been assigned to prepare a 2-day large field exercise. We will provide our joint CBRN Defense Company premises located in the suburb of western suburb of Athens, and also Stathis previously on providing the platform on the map. It's where this company located, and the aim of this joint action is related to counteract an attempt of smuggling radioactive sources from the port. So we are going to simulate a port and organize the joint action using also UAV and UGVs devices. Next, Raquel. So the scenario will be in accordance with the gaps identified by Work Package 3 and Work Package 4. And till now, what we have prepared is to the title of the scenario is an unidentified container at port containing Caesium-137 source. And this is the general framework of joint actions, not only what will happen in Greece. And all joint actions will focus on RN domain. So next slide. Some information. I think that everyone is aware where Athens is located in Greece. Next, and also, Raquel, next slide. And also the Attica is the province of where Athens is located, and you can see on the west side of Athens is the joint CBRN point. So so we follow the joint actions methodology, which is in accordance with the including project directions. So now we are on the first step, where we have the identification of gaps in accordance with the Work Package 3 and the guidelines for Work Package 4, and we continue with the 3 other steps, which means scenario implementation, next preparation for the joint action, and then the evaluation. Preparation, execution, and then evaluation. Next slide, because I'm also out of time due to this problem with connection.
No worries, Pyrrhus. Go on.
Unfortunately. So we can go to the next slide, Raquel. So now preparing the exercise, there was a work package 3 study and about strengths and weaknesses in training. And I think, Raquel, there is one slide before this. No, before this. Now you have to go back after that. There is one. Yes. So in accordance with this study about the evolution and recent trends, we we take under consideration all this evolution, which means there is the illicit trafficking and smuggling of radiological and nuclear material, which continue to be a concern in Europe, the contraband of RN agents through maritime domain, and what we'll use for the exercise in a port, which is in ports, I think it's very interesting area for terrorists to traffic their material. And so there is special attention on Eastern European region, which our country can be bordering with Asia, with the Middle East, can be considered a very very interesting location for terrorists. And so about international community will adopt security standard and enhancing the detection technologies, and also the illicit trafficking remains a potential threat to European security. So next slide. So according to these results, this study, there are results about the joint action execution, which means what we will have to do: simulation and field exercises, further cooperation among authorities, which as military we can provide what military sector can provide to civilian authorities, especially on CBRN domain. And because I think many people are not aware that military can provide support on this domain using its capabilities. So next slide. So according to these results, directions, etc., I prepared the first draft of objectives for Athens Joint Action, which I think include all these fields. And in accordance also to the including ground agreement direction, we will use UAV and UGV devices for detection and identification purposes in order to test and check if it's better for in improving our capabilities, and also to identify gaps on this domain. If these technologies may create obstacles or problems. So next slide. So some small summary about the scenario till now. It's I divided in 3 phases. The phase 1 is crisis development. That, as we said, we are in a port, and a technician informed the police that there is a radiation signal, and in a container ship who had its containers on the port. So next slide. So the next phase is the crisis management. According to our procedures, we have this General Secretariat for Civil Protection who has the coordination for this for crisis management, verify the presence of radioactive material, and ask the armed forces for using this civil military cooperation we have established, and our CBRN company will take the control and start the detection using, of course, the UAV and UGV technology. Next slide. And the phase 3 is the related to consequent management, related to information to the public, and inform the neighboring countries, and report to International Atomic Energy Agency. So next slide. Some exercise elements we have prepared till now. It's about mapping and monitoring, assessment of contamination, decision making, crisis communication, management of local authorities and governmental authorities, and also it's also our aim to provide the cooperation between the civilian and the military authorities. So next slide. So and now some pictures and maps of our facility. It's in a camp. You can see, and yes, you can continue, which we prepare to simulate a port. This is from toxic triage participation. We also like Giri participated in toxic triage as end user, and also what we are going to use for UGV and UAV devices. So here you can see some what in bullets the capabilities we can provide for this joint action. Next, what personnel and means and equipment we have now. and what this company can provide for civilian authorities. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Spiros. Really great presentation. It should be now time for question and answers, and but I would like no, there is no questions, and since we are running a bit late.
But there is a proposal from Carolina, I think.
Yeah, Carolina.
On the chat for me.
Yeah, there was for you. There is for you. Yeah. Yeah, you should correct the slide. Yeah. Thanks, Carolina. I would like to ask one last question, if anyone else hasn't. Is about how to join the federation, because we understood how this federation works, and which are the benefits of joining it, but how really to join it.
Okay, so I think that it's my duty to give an answer, obviously, as coordinator. So to be part of the federation, the first step is to take contact with the coordinator. So with me, on the project website, you have all the reference to be in contact with me, and I will start to explain to you what is the steps forward for to be a partner of the federation. Essentially, it's very easy. So we have a format that we will distribute to the potential partner, where it is explained what are the benefits for joining, what are the rules. But essentially, there are no obligation for a partner to be a new partner of the federation. The only obligation is to share the information on the resources that it would like to be published on the database that Professor Stade explained before. The acceptance of, if one book your resources, it is not, there's no obligation from your side to accept this booking, but you can start some talks, some negotiation with the user that has booked the resources, and then to agree on possible final utilization. So only one final remarks. The final acceptance of a new partner to be a member of the federation is subject to the final decision of the including steering board that will vote about the new partners. Let me say that from the beginning of the project, we have had the new addition, the Felix Dorf proving ground from the Austrian Army, that is an excellent area where to test UAV, is a new partner of our federation, even if not a partner of the including project. Obviously, new partners of the federation, new acquisition, will have some privilege to assess our extra fundings that we have for external partners, obviously. I look that there is a question from Jan.
Yes. Are there any data format standards agreed to be used on the systems taking part in the federation? I think this is a question for Professor Stades, or I don't know. Yeah.
If I may jump in here. Okay. Yeah. At first, we're including DDL is a sort of a standard that we propose in order to be able to model all these exercises sufficiently to the full extent of the tasks and the engagement of and the roles and the engagement of actors, etc. Apart from that, assuming that the platform digests this scenario and starts commanding different things, there we're using standards like, for example, STANAG formats, coming from NATO in order to task the drones, for example, or static sensors, etc. And we're using the same channel, let's say, the same standards in order to feed information back to the system. when we, assuming that we have a more distributed federation, then there are additional standards that are coming from bodies like IEEE in order to offload the attributes of a certain asset from one testbed to the other, and thus be fed into a different database owned by a different testbed operator. So basically, yes, we're relying on standards in order to exchange information between testbeds themselves, but also between the platform and the assets that it's been using and exploiting overall. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think he's satisfied with your answer. So I think we
I'm
came.
glad.
Yeah. I think we came to our conclusions. This is our contact, website, Twitter, email, and also LinkedIn. So you're very welcome to join us. I think I'm speaking on behalf of the whole team. And this timeline is representing our timeline of the project. We are now at month 12. So as you might understand, we have an annual workshop. And for this COVID pandemic, we are having our first annual workshop online. It will take place at 2:30 p.m., the same time of this meeting. And we will talk about many interesting things, including radiological emergency, how to manage a radiological crime scene, environmental monitoring, and also the assets and the capabilities of RN domain for supporting and countering COVID-19 pandemic. So you are very welcome to join us. You can find the registration form on our website. You just need to click on news, and then you will find all the information, including our agenda with all the speakers that will take part in it. I will be part of that, so if you wish to hear my voice again, you are very welcome. Luigi will be there, and a lot of us will be there, and also experts external to the project. I think Luigi, as coordinator, the last word is yours.
So first of all, I would like to thank all of you for the participation. I would like to thank all the speakers for the very good contribution. I would like to thank Rachele for the great coordination. And please, I invite all of you to join our annual workshop, because a workshop means to work on something. It is not a conference in which we would like to present to you final results, but we would like to in certain sense, to stimulate a discussion in the RN community on a specific subject. In the hope next year to have our annual workshop in physical presence and to go deep into these details with the face-to-face discussion. So once again, thank you to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.